What makes you afraid to step out of the boat today? There is something that sometimes we have to make a choice. Sometimes we have to make a choice. Maybe we feel like God is telling us to witness to somebody or go say hello to the new neighbor or start teaching a Sunday school class or small group or something that He's asking us to do that makes us have to step out of our comfort zone. For me, several years ago, I had the choice to publish my next book, which was Faith That Walks on Water, like I had previously published my other books, or through Redemption Press, which added another zero to the price tag. And I went through Redemption Press, and that was a scary choice to make because of the large amount of money that went into it. And you never recoup that money as an author unless you're a New York Times bestseller or something. So what is the thing that is keeping you from stepping out of the boat, that is causing you the fear to not step out of the boat, to not have faith that walks on water? Sometimes the stormy waves toss us out of the boat. We don't make a choice. We wake up one day in pain, with a disease, with a situation we did not have a choice about. And that reminds me of the terrible pain with the scoliosis and the spinal surgery I had. And after that surgery, I I felt terrified that my life would never be the same again. So sometimes we are in those situations. We know the story, but let's talk about it. Jesus sent his disciples across the Sea of Galilee, and they came upon a storm in the middle of the night. Now, I guess it's one thing to come across a storm in the day, but in the middle of the night, it's worse. And in the middle of the sea. And those storms on the Sea of Galilee get very ferocious, get very ferocious. So they're afraid. And next thing you know, they see this ghostly figure walking across the stormy waves. That's even more frightening. So now they are even more afraid. But it's Jesus, and he calls out to them, and he says, do not be afraid. And friend, that is what he is telling us today. Do not be afraid. That's in Matthew 14:27. Do not be afraid. And so when Peter realized it was Jesus, he says, well, Lord, call me to come out onto the waves with you. And Jesus said, come. Now notice, Jesus didn't say, come, Peter. He said, come. All of those disciples could have left that boat and walked to Jesus. But only Peter did. Only Peter had the courage to have a faith that walks on water. And he got out of that boat and he started walking across the waves. You know, one day I want to ask Peter, what did that feel like? And then we notice that he's doing a great job walking across these waves. He's doing great. That is because eyes of faith find security in the eyes of the Savior, in the eyes of Jesus. He has locked eyes with Jesus. But then the waves and the winds get boisterous. Friend, your suffering gets boisterous. Something in your life, your finances get boisterous. And we take our eyes off Jesus. We lose that security because our eyes are no longer locked on the eyes of Jesus. So our tooltip for today is to keep our eyes on Jesus, but there's a second tooltip. Trust Jesus. So I guess you're getting 2 for 1 today. Trust Jesus. Because when Peter took his eyes off Jesus, he began to sink. And as he began to sink, he cried out for Jesus to save him. And Jesus came over and reached down his arm and pulled him up, did not let him drown. And friend, that is because moments of sinking bring moments of strengthening. They walked back to that boat on the water, on the same stormy water that took Peter down. But when we have those moments of sinking, see, that's why we're afraid to step out of the boat. We're afraid to sink. We're afraid that we don't have a faith that walks on water. But then when we get down in those waves and Jesus pulls us up and he shows us how he saves us and he strengthens us. Like I said, moments of sinking become moments of strengthening. That is what strengthens us. Those moments will define our lives, and we will never have them if we don't step out of the boat. So today, your tool tip number 4, wow, only one more, is put your eyes on Jesus, put your trust in Jesus. Whenever you find your eyes on the circumstances of your life this week, and from now on, put your eyes back on Jesus and trust him. I know that's hard to do. I know doubt will come and try to pull you away, but every time you turn your eyes back to Jesus and off the doubt. As always, like, subscribe, comment, please. That helps YouTube show this. The link to my book, Faith That Walks on Water, is in the description. That is where these tool tips are coming from. And the link to the whole playlist of Face Your Fear is in the description also. And I will see you next week with tool tip number 5. See you next week.